Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Christy Vann with Fantastic Finances, and on this channel I teach velocity banking. So I was listening to YouTube videos today, and it was a fellow finance teacher, and I don't usually listen to them, but I thought it was quite interesting because he was working with a couple that feel like they are living paycheck to paycheck. So as I was listening to a rundown of their debt, they came across a HELOC that they currently have, and they gave the balances and the payments. So the lady said, and I quote, "When we got the HELOC, it was for remodeling. So we almost charged it up to the limit, and now we're just making interest payments." And the finance educator that was speaking to her was like, "Oh yeah, those are complex, somewhat dangerous to have." The first thought I had was, okay, we can work with that. But they were literally trying to figure out how they were going to consolidate their loans and their lines into another loan so that they could have a more manageable payment. Well, they had just moved into the HELOC. So it's a 10-year draw, a 20-year repayment period. So you're talking about a 30-year loan, right? Yes, if you don't use it correctly. Had I been speaking with the lady who was discouraged that she had a HELOC, they had run it almost up to the limit, I would have shown her this option on getting out of the debt. Now, I'm not including their mortgage on here because I'm going to deal with this HELOC that they were so discouraged about because they're not making any traction. They're just paying interest. It's an interest only. So they make the interest payment every month, which is leaving the balance sitting at the balance because they're just making interest payments. So let's look at the debt that she said that they currently have. We've got the HELOC, which is at $65,390, and the interest payment on that at an 8.3% is $452.28 per month. Their car is at a balance of $9,829.52 with a $378.17 payment per month. They have a firm, which is at $1,298.11, and they're making a payment of $74.23. Now that goes on for 22 more months. Then we have the personal loan that's at $5,473.84, and the monthly payment is $246.60. This goes on for an additional 27 months. So let's play What Would Christy Do? This is exactly what I would do, and I would be excited that I had that HELOC because the way I teach velocity banking is we're going to do the income in and pull the expenses out of there and knock off a couple of loans in the process. So their income being at $4,500 a month and their total expenses currently at $4,200 a month leaves them a cash flow of $300 per month. When we pull the HELOC over here where we can kind of separate it from the debt load, we're going to show the balance at $65,390, but we're going to pull our income into this line every single month. Now, this is their minimum income they can make in a month, so I'm just going to show the minimums of what they could do with this account. So when the income goes into this account in month one, that will satisfy this $452 payment that they're currently making for interest. Yes, the interest is going to be applied at the statement date, but that satisfies the payment for this month. So when the income goes in throughout the month, it doesn't matter if it's daily, weekly, monthly, it doesn't matter when your income goes in, it should reduce the balance to about $60,890. Now the expenses have to come back out, and if you notice, the expenses are less here than what they show here. Why? Because I showed that this payment has been satisfied, so the only expenses that's going to come back out of this account is actually the rest of her debt and her living expenses, such as her gas, food, subscriptions, such as that, and this does include the mortgage payment as well. We have to figure some interest, so the bank calculates the interest on the average daily balance. So I took the $65,390, the $68,90, and the $64,637, averaged that out, and that's how I figured the 8.3% onto that average amount. The interest total here would be about $440.17 for this month. Adding that in, you're back up to $65,077.89. Month two, we're going to do it again. The income is going to go in, bringing the balance down to $60,577.89. Of course, they're going to pay their expenses again. Now, remember, the expenses come out throughout the month, right? They don't come in one big chunk on one day. So you might buy gas today, pay $50, and you might go to the grocery store tomorrow for $100, and your cable bill might be due for $150. So throughout the month, these expenses are going to come back out, bringing the balance back up to $64,325.61. And we're going to figure that interest again based on this average daily balance, bringing her back up to $64,763.62. Her income goes back in again for month 3, bringing her back down to $60,263.62. Now we're going to add in a couple of loans here. Why are we adding in the loans into this line of credit? Well, these loans currently have payments, remember? So the $74.23 and the $246.60 are now going to become cash flow because we're putting these loans into this line, which is eliminating the monthly payment due. What's it going to do to this line of credit, though? When you add in the personal loan and the Affirm loan, you're back up to $67,035.57. Some of you out there are screaming right now because you're like, you have to work off this HELOC. Remember, this is a 10-year draw with a 20-year repayment period. We never want to move the HELOC into the repayment period. So I'm going to work this out to where we don't end up at that 10-year mark and have to go into a mortgage, basically, is what they will turn this into. So when we add in those two loans, it reduced our monthly expenses again, because again, we get to eliminate the monthly payments that were being made on those two accounts. So when you add in the new expense total and the interest now, because of the average daily balance, you're going to be back up to $70,905.27. Month 4, the income goes in, bringing you back down to $66,405.27. The expenses are then going to come back out again, as will the interest, so you're back up to $70,304.16. So then in month 5, the income goes in again, bringing you down to $65,804.16. But look here, in just 3 months, the balance is already back down to $65,197. How did that happen? Now we're just working down the original HELOC again. So let's stop here just a minute, because the balance was $67,035 when we added in these two loans. We did the income and expenses out for 3 months, and now we're at $65,197. That tells you that Affirm has been paid off plus some within 3 months. And what did it have left over here? 22 more months at this $75 a month payment, but yet we paid it off in 3 months using the line of credit. That's the difference that a line of credit makes compared to making monthly payments. We're in a mindset of making monthly payments, and when we get out of that mindset and move into let's pay off debt, this is what happens. It happens very quickly. So long story short, if they continue to do this for 78 more months, they're going to pay off this line of credit in full. What does that mean? That means for a total of 84 months, this line will be paid off, and that's 7 years. That's not 10 years. So they're not going to see the repayment period. That's what we want to make sure that we're working towards. We don't want any lines of credit to ever move into a loan. The loans are the amortized schedule, and they're eating up our wealth. Even though the interest starts out high here, it will come down very quickly. When you're hitting that cash flow against the balance every single month, it's reducing it, which is reducing the interest charges. So it looks like to me that this personal loan that had 27 months left on it is going to be wiped out in about 3 more months as well. It's exciting, people, when you're using a line of credit and you learn how to use that line of credit correctly. It's exciting because you can really work down your debt very, very quickly. And like this lady that was discouraged in the video that I saw today because they had run the balance up on the HELOC and now they were just making monthly payments, you could hear the discouragement in her voice. She was like, yeah, now we have nothing but another debt. That's not true. They had their way out and they didn't even understand it. And the person that was talking to them obviously didn't understand it either, because he was just as discouraged as they were. I'm not discouraged, I'm encouraged, and I want you to be encouraged. I want you to learn how to use these lines of credit so that they're benefiting you, not just making interest payments. I'm telling you, it's a pretty exciting life when you're using a line of credit. So stay encouraged today. Be looking for the options that's going to save you money and time when it comes to buying the things that you want by using lines of credit instead of loans. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.